So let's get back to this one that Taylor Swift loves. Would you agree with her? Is it amazing, that particular wine?
It is. And so I brought a different one because she's created a little bit of a shortage for Domaine de Terre Blanche.
I'm Wendy Holloway, and this is Flavor of Italy, sharing the very best of Italian food and wine, lifestyle, and culture. I'm here with Trisha Conover, and she is the wine expert today that's really going to lead us along on our wine discussion. So, Trisha, you had a great idea to talk about this wine, which Sancerre is an area in France, but it's a wine. Taylor Swift has made it famous worldwide. That's a thing these days, that we're guided by what we call celebrity wines. And I think it's great because it takes us away from these expensive bottles and we drink what we want, we drink what we like. Would you agree with that, Trisha?
I would. I totally agree with that. And I just wrote a letter on Substack. I have a Substack newsletter called Wine Wanderings. It's been around since 2021, but I'm a 16-year wine journalist, level 4 sommelier. And I think you should drink what you like. And in the summer, and I'm here in North Texas, where it is 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 Celsius. So
104 in Rome. I have you
it's
beat. We're in
scary.
this horrible
You
heat wave, but
do.
yeah.
You're beating Texas. That's amazing, isn't it? And along the lines of your question, I want to say in the summertime, I like refreshing wines. So I've actually brought 6 of them to talk about. But Sancerre is having a moment. Taylor Swift loves Domaine de Terre Blanche. And Sancerre is from the Loire Valley region and has that rich Cambrian soil that's from the Jurassic era, 150 million years ago, but it gives it that really crisp acidity. It's
Yeah.
wonderful with seafood. So I can see why it has a moment, but the main grape is Sauvignon Blanc, which is grown around the world. And I
Yeah.
actually have brought another one that is from a domestic one that is just wonderful from the Santa Barbara region of California. And I have a couple others I'd suggest that I like to drink in the summer because when you're a somm, everyone wants to know what you drink and what your kind of house wines are.
So let's get back to this one that Taylor Swift loves. Would you agree with her? Is it amazing, that particular wine?
It is. And so I brought a different one because she's created a little bit of a shortage for Domaine de Terre Blanche. But it runs about $32. But I brought a Sancerre called Grand Fossil that's about $28. Now, Sancerre, like other French wines, has been affected by the tariff situation somewhat.
Of
But still,
course.
I think this is a pretty affordable, really nice white wine that you'd want to have with dinner or as an aperitif, either one, because they're so light. I think of sparkling wines that way too. And I brought a Oregon sparkling wine that's made of 90. This is the Art Brut Rosé 2022, aged 3 years, wonderful, good
Oh, wow.
value. When you think about it, it runs between 21 and $28 compared to a champagne. That one I consider one of my house sparkling wines because I like
So,
Brut
so
Rosé.
that's so funny. Brut Rosé is at the very top of my list.
So we were talking about Sauvignon Blancs because around the world, everyone loves the New Zealand ones. I brought one that is rather pricey, but it is for a reason. It's at the Jada called Lotus Eaters. And it's done at Happy Valley ABA in Santa Barbara region, Happy Canyon rather. And the reason it's so pricey is it's wonderful. but it's a combination of 2 different clones, half of which is a Muscat clone, so it gives it all this aromatics like crazy. I love Muscat clones. They just bring all this floral, lots of jumping out of the glass at you. Wonderful wine. Another Sauvignon Blanc, like a Sancerre. So that's
Yeah,
a
I've
special
heard
one.
that Oregon is quite a nice wine area.
It's wonderful. There's 2 areas. Willamette Valley is the most famous, and the grapes they're most famous for Pinot Noir, but they do wonderful Chardonnays. They do lots of other Pinot Gris is really big there, and the Umpqua Valley in the southern part of Oregon is also a great wine region, but I think most people know the Willamette Valley the best, and if you it looks like Willamette, but you think of it Willamette Dammit is how you remember how to pronounce it.
Just to understand, because I've never actually been to Oregon I've been to Oregon, but not to explore the wineries. Now, are these kind of smaller, family-owned? What's kind of the profile of these wineries, Trisha?
That's a really good question. I love it. I've been there twice. I was a guest of Stoller Estates, which is a sizable place. But I've also been to Domaine Druhan. The Druhan family from Burgundy invested in that winery. It is smaller, pretty exclusive. King Estate's pretty large, and Argyle, the one I just showed you, is a pretty sizable compared to a large Napa Valley winery like Rombauer. They're small, but they have various sizes from the boutique to the larger ones. And I think the climate, the latitude is like Burgundy. So, I mean, the
Okay.
latitude really is why a lot of the French, Domaine Serene and Domaine Druhan, invested in Oregon. And they do really nice Chardonnays now too. So, it's a really wonderful region, easy to get to. You fly to Portland and drive less than an hour south. It's pretty easy to get to. They're very accommodating, and what's interesting is that was a region that had a lot of fruit trees and pine trees, so the mixed horticulture is pretty. It's not just all vineyards, although have you ever seen a vineyard you didn't like? They're
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about some of these other Sancerre, focused wines.
S Sancerre is a special wine because of the ancient soil that it comes from, very crisp. But I really like the expression of Sauvignon Blancs around the world. The Australians and the New Zealanders do a great job. Napa Valley does a great job, actually, Sauvignon Blancs. Sonoma, Mary Edwards is one of my favorites over there, a little pricier, much like that Lotus Eaters. But then there's a lot of other grapes that I think are worthy for summer wines. Sancerre's gotten a cachet because of it always had one, but because of Taylor Swift. But I
Yeah.
would say one of the ones I like is a Puy-Fusset from the Maconades region south of in Burgundy. It's France. This is a
Yeah.
pretty affordable one. It runs between 35 and $40. Good French Burgundy, but it's Puy-Fusset. It's really
Okay.
nice. The other thing that I like, I'm gonna show you the bottle, and it's so pretty that I made it into a lamp.
Oh,
This
wow, that's
is
lovely. Yeah.
this is from Wolfer Estate in Long Island, New York. But the wine comes from Provence. It says Côte de Provence, but this is called Summer in a Bottle. In the bottle, it's a rosé, still rosé. It's so pretty that I give it as gifts and make it into lamps, as you can see. But
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
great, great rosé, still rosé, and it's from France. It's just bottled in the Hamptons in Long Island. So a very nice area of Long Island.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I actually did a river cruise with their winemaker on Amma Waterways on the Danube this past spring, and they were lovely
Oh,
people.
lovely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's a
I've
beautiful
noticed
gift.
you showed us this gorgeous bottle, which I love, and in recent years, Whereas winemakers used to have, I don't want to say boring, but kind of boring, standard looking bottles. They've gotten very creative. And a lot of times you go into a wine shop, and what really catches your eye, and you sometimes even buy them, is the bottle.
It's so true. I actually gave this one to for gifts for Christmas because it's just so pretty. Plus, the wine is really good and well made. So,
The Willamette Pinot Noir wines from Oregon are wonderful. Are you familiar with them?
that's what we were talking about. That is the
Oh,
signature grape of Willamette Valley, and that Brut that
oh,
we're
Willamette.
sharing,
Okay.
this
All
one is
right.
95% Pinot Noir because the juice of grapes is clear, but it picks up a tiny bit, the rosé picks up a tiny bit of the skin color. And this is 5% Chardonnay and 95% Pinot Noir, but the Pinot Noirs from Willamette Valley, your writer is absolutely right. They're just fabulous. They're some of my
Okay.
favorite. Yeah.
All
Outside of
right.
red Burgundy or maybe the Russian River in Sonoma or Central Otoga in the southern island of New Zealand, those would be some of my favorite Pinot Noirs. But definitely get a good Gary Farrell, get a good Domaine Druhan, a Stoller, all of those King Estate make great Pinot Noirs. There's so many really good producers in the Willamette Valley, Oregon. And since you're in Italy, I had to bring one Italian wine that I like with me for the summer.
Thank you.
And Buonasera, by the way. So I like Falanginas, and this Falangina is from the Del Sogno DOC, and it's from the Campania region, so it's about 50 kilometers northeast of Naples, where you can find this region. I love this wine. It's got citrus and white pear, white peach kind of taste, really good with seafood. So if you're doing a seafood pasta, that would be a really good choice. So
Yeah.
what are your favorite whites in Italy?
Oh gosh. There's a winery I discovered from northern Italy quite recently, and it's the Elena Walsh Winery. And they're in Alto Adige. It's
Okay.
an all women owned winery. So it's a mom who married into this wine family, and but she had so much more vision for what the winery was doing. So she took it over, and now her two daughters are involved. And one of my favorite restaurants, when you come to Rome, I'll have to take you there. Garibaldi, it's called. They always suggest wines to me, and so the sommelier said, "Wendy, you're going to love this wine," and it was one of these Elena Walsh wines. So I love that, and I do love the bubbly rosé.
Okay.
Yeah, and it depends. There's so many of them, and I think a lot of times, at least in the past, it was considered like a girly wine, which it isn't at all. And in Italy, rosés are very much of a year-round wine that you can have with winter dishes as well as summer dishes. So it's a little bit different from France in that sense, where the rosés tend to be more summer focused.
It's been an evolution. It's one of the higher growth areas. You mentioned Prosecco is a big growth area, sparkling wines, rosé, still rosé, like the Wolfer, the one with the pretty bottle. All of those are really more year round, we're finding now, and people like that. They especially even in the winter, instead of having a white wine, they'll have a rosé. But one of the things that's been really interesting with both rosé and prosecco is they've become a darling of the bartenders. I'm also a spirit specialist, so I talk about cocktails. And don't you love a French 75? Which is gin and sparkling wine. You can use Prosecco, you can use champagne, but I would probably tend to use a domestic sparkler Prosecco just because it's mixed, and I like to enjoy my champagne by itself. But there's a lot of sparkling cocktails now that where the bartenders are adding that to the gin. I do a twist on the French 75, which, by the way, it was named in the 1900s after the large millimeter bullets that came out of the French rifles that were 75 millimeters is really large.
It's 75.
Oh, you have to have one.
I'm really on a learning curve with you as far as anything cocktail related goes, so this is great.
So French 75s are great. I like to use either an Empress, the purple gin, or like a Hendrix. And instead of using simple syrup in it, use some elderflower liqueur, which gives it the little sweetness. And it has lime juice, Prosecco, gin, and the elderflower. That's a twist on the standard where they use simple syrup instead of the elderflower liqueur. But that'll really give you lots of aromatics because that liqueur smells so great. But a French 75 is one of my favorite cocktails. So just to bring that, they're great summer mixers. And I think the bartenders are embracing that. And it makes the alcohol lighter too, compared to just a full strength spirit cocktail like a martini, right?
Tell us about the Sancerre area, which is, for anyone who's not aware, it's Sancerre in France. Tell us about that growing area.
Yeah,
And
so interestingly, it's in the Loire Valley, but it's further east in the Loire Valley, almost over towards Burgundy. And that region has this ancient soil from the Jurassic area called Kimmeridgian soil. It's a mixture has little fossils in it, little ancient oysters in it, which adds calcium and adds a lot of liveliness into the soil. So it produces wines that are very crisp and sharp and acidic and lots of flavor, and some would say minerality, but much like Chablis, the Chablis region of Burgundy, it's got that kind of, you almost feel like you're tasting the little ancient oysters, the minerality, the little chunks that you get from it. And it gives it a refreshing sense. That and the acidity because of the northern clime, because of the latitude where it's grown, much like Oregon we were talking about, they have good acidity and it keeps wines from tasting flat. So you really want some good acidity in
oh
your
yeah,
wines. But there's a but to that, and I always tell people when they're drinking wine, don't judge it on the first sip. You need about 3 before your mouth pH comes down to the level of the wine. Otherwise, it tastes sour to begin with. So you want to take 3 sips and then judge the wine on the 3rd sip. But Sancerre's, if I were at a restaurant and it was summertime and it was a special wine, although the price isn't bad for Sancerre, really. I would order one almost over anything in the summertime. And
yeah,
obviously Taylor Swift feels the same way.
yeah.
This one that I showed you, and I'm gonna pull it up again, this Grand Fossil I got on wine.com, which is I use quite a bit because they have a thing like Amazon where if you sign up for their stewardship program, it's free shipping. And I ship to people, so as gifts, business gifts sometimes. So I like the free shipping. But this one is pretty affordable. It was delicious. This is my 3rd bottle that I've gotten.
Yeah.
It was accessible, and it's still, as of last week, you could get it on wine.com. I'm sure Total Wine and some of the other larger retailers in the US, but I'm sure you can get it all over Paris as well, and probably in the Rome shops.
Sancerre is actually an area.
It
Have
is. It's
you been
just
there?
I have not I've been to the Loire Valley, but I went to Amboise, which is really more in the Chenin Blanc. Do a lot of Chenin Blancs, and I have not been to the Sancerre region. I've been to Burgundy, Bordeaux, Champagne, the normal places that all of us go that are trying to calibrate our old world palate. But just like other old world wines, like Chianti, the wine is named after the place, not the grape. So
Exactly.
Sancerre is not called a Sauvignon Blanc, it's called a Sancerre, but it is a Sauvignon Blanc. Chianti is a Sangiovese grape. So, but they don't call it that except in the US where they're growing it here in Texas and all over the place. You just have to learn the differences of old world naming versus new world, which would be Australia, US, South Africa wines. But in Italy and Germany, a little less, but definitely France, Italy, and Spain. A lot of the wines, like I love a Priorat from Spain, just south of Barcelona. It's one of my favorite reds, but it's a very concentrated Garnacha grape. They don't call it Garnacha, they call it a Priorat because it's in the Priorat region. So I
Yeah.
hope that makes sense, but you have to learn that. And it doesn't, it, a lot of times the smart European producers go ahead and put the grape on either the bottom of the front label or the back label just for US
Oh,
consumers.
so this is the Sancerre is a Sauvignon Blanc,
And so
and
is a white Bordeaux, but it's a blend of Sauvignon Blanc and mostly Semillon in it. And that's like the Pessac-Léognan region of Bordeaux is one of my favorite all time. Give me a great Domaine de Chevalier white Bordeaux, and I'm a happy girl. But there again, it's probably 80% Sauvignon Blanc. So
so
Sauvignon Blanc is
Sauvignon
great.
Blanc is a grape that grows well in lots of places. What does it look for and need to grow well and thrive?
It needs light,
Yeah.
and they get quite a bit of light in the Marlborough region of New Zealand. They get quite a bit of light in Napa Valley. They get a really good amount in other places like Sancerre. But now with global warming, they're getting more because it used to be Chablis, Burgundy, and Sancerre regions of France had struggled to get their grapes to ripen. They aren't having that, they're having the opposite issue now. Growing grapes is a little bit like the canary in the coal mine. It's a early warning signal that we have global warming happening. And you can really tell when you see red wines coming out of Germany, which barely could ripen Rieslings in the old days, and now they've got very ripe Rieslings, and they're doing Blaufränkisch, lots of different kinds of red wines in Germany. Sancerre in Sauvignon Blanc is really grown around the world. South Africa has some great Sauvignon Blancs. And like I mentioned, the blends are really nice. The Australians tend to do a white Bordeaux style where they mix the Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, just like they do in Bordeaux in the Pessac-Léognan subregion of Bordeaux. Really wonderful, age-worthy, really age-worthy white wines. Some of my favorites in the world are there.
Yeah. It's nice when you run across a great age-worthy white.
Yeah, and of course, Burgundy's known for that, and so is Bordeaux. But we have age-worthy whites coming out of the US, age-worthy reds and whites coming out of Australia. It's the wine, if you have quality winemaking and you have a grape that can do that, like champagne, totally age-worthy, right? And but if you think about it, in the business of wine, you have to think about it. 98% of the wines bought are consumed within about 24 hours of when they are bought. It's very small
Oh,
percentage that are collectors, and
I
or
okay.
even like semi collectors like me, where I'll have a couple bottles at the bottom of my cellar. But I usually buy wines that are my friends can come over, they can have dinner or play mahjong with me, and we can drink wine. So I tend to be like most consumers and only have a few set aside for special occasions.
Did you have a couple of other wines you were going to share with us?
I
Or did we look
actually
at them all?
I think we looked at them all, but I did wanna at least do a shout out to Vernaccia di San Gimignano because it's one of my favorite whites in Italy. And if you've been to the charming village of San Gimignano, I'm sure every
Yes, yeah.
tourist does. And the wisterias growing over, all of the pergolas there, it's just so beautiful. But there again, that's a very high acid, very mineral based, one of the best wines in Italy that I love when I'm going to the Tuscany region. I think that's just lovely. So Vernaccia di San Gimignano was one of the first DOCs actually in that they created, the authorities created in Italy. I don't know if you knew that.
Huh.
The other whites that I really are the Mount Etna whites from Sicily. 'Cause
Mount
they're
Etna produces
wonderful.
incredible wines. I
Yep.
think that's my favorite wine area in Italy right now. I'm glad you mentioned that.
No, the volcanic soil there, and people don't know Napa Valley is volcanic soil too, but it's a mixture. But yeah, the Mount Etna wines are wonderful, and the Nero d'Avolo, the reds are great. I particularly, when I wrote for I think I told you, and I don't know if I showed this, but my very first magazine article, I was the only US editor for the Tuscan magazine. And it was a magazine that was English speaking, English printed for tourists in Tuscany. And it's no longer in print, but my very first article was written about the high resveratrol or antioxidant properties of Italian wines, and particularly two. One of them's Sagrantino from Umbria, and
Yes,
one of them is Cannonau, which is really Cabernet from
from
Sardinia.
Sardinia. I
And
love it.
Sardinia is a blue zone where people have longevity, and they drink Cannonau, Cabernet Franc. They walk lots of hills in Sardinia, and they
Pick
live
olives.
yeah, pick olives, they live long. So though I my article for the Tuscan magazine was about 2 non-Tuscan wines, Cannonau in Sardinia and Sagrantino in Umbria. And there's a grape that's we haven't even touched on that's pretty interesting right now. It's got a little bit of a moment. We're actually growing it in Texas. We're the 5th largest wine state, growing state in the US, and it's the Tannat grape, which is from southern France, but also it is the grape of Umbria, of Uruguay in South America.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's their kind of state grape, kind of like Pinot Noir is for Oregon. It's Uruguay's. And it's done very well in Texas. The Tannat won a lot of gold awards in
How is that spelled, the name of the grape?
Tannat
Ah, Tannat.
from southern France, southwestern France.
Yeah, I just wrote that down to have a look.
So that grape's kind of having a moment, but I think people are appreciating blends and what they bring to the table, both white blends and red blends, because it's 1 plus 1 equals 3 on a blend, you hope that
Yeah, exactly.
it enhances both of the grapes well to create something that's very special, and Bordeaux had that down pat for sure because
Yeah,
they lose any one of 6 grapes, and now they've added some more with global warming, they've added some more to their list that they can grow there now.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
the world of wine is large and growing, and Eastern Europe has some fabulous wines. I was just in Hungary, and they have some great wines there too.
Interesting. Yeah. I should let you and everyone go, but if you're interested in knowing more about wine, you can reach out to Trisha. She's on Instagram, and your Instagram handle, what is it again? It's different.
Wine Grapestone.
Wine Grapestone. And
Then my
then
Substack is Wine Wanderings.
and it's 5 years that you've been doing that, Tricia, so she's got a lot of articles there, lots of information, and reach out to Tricia with any questions, and leave us both a note or a comment with any experience you've had on wine, any questions, or anything you might wanna share with us.
I'd love to
Yeah.
hear what you have to say, and, yeah, my subscribers have access to all the archives for the last 5 years and some of links to some print journals that I've written over the last 16 years, so
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on Flavor of Italy.
Thanks. This was wonderful. Always love to talk wine.
Why not?
Well, why not? Yeah. Thanks, Tricia.
We'll see you soon.
This has been Flavor of Italy. Find us on www.flavorofitaly.com and on Substack, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, always as Flavor of Italy.